ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Srikanth, joining you live from India's startup capital, Bangalore, and we have a power-packed lineup over the next 20 minutes.
That's right, and I'm Kumar coming to you live from ET Now's Mumbai studios. First up, a look at all that's making headlines in the world of startups. It's a big voice from the Silicon Valley and an exclusive one at that. Randi Zuckerberg, the former Facebook employee and sister of Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, she says that internet access cannot be restricted. The founder of India's most valuable unicorn, Sachin Bansal, and the bad boy of the startup world, Rahul Yadav, share lessons in starting up, managing investors, and lots more. 10 deals worth $60 million have been struck over the last week. We take a look at the biggest ones on our funding meter. And on our app meter, we get you the top 3 fitness apps trending on iOS as well as Android. Junior Finance Minister Jayant Sinha raises question about the booming startup ecosystem, but startup founders beg to differ. We get you that tete-a-tete with InMobi founder Naveen Tiwari and Flipkart co-founder Sachin Bansal. We also kick off a brand new segment today where Titan's boss Bhaskar Bhatt opens up about the best advice he ever got and how it helped him build a valuable business. First up, as the debate on net neutrality continues in India, we get you a big Silicon Valley voice on this contentious issue, isn't that, Chandra?
That's right, and the voice we are talking about is the former director of marketing at Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg's sister Randi Zuckerberg, who's told ET Now's Gauri Dwivedi that internet access cannot be restricted. Remember, this view is coming in a rare and exclusive interview to ET Now, even as the TRAI verdict on differential pricing is expected in a few days' time. Let's listen in.
A lot of startups are really focused on is about net neutrality. As somebody who has a global perspective, help us understand that, should governments draw the line as far as net neutrality is concerned? Should the definition be, as you move along in the ecosystem, you discover the definition? What do you think should really be net neutrality all about?
It's hard for me to answer this question because I'm so biased. I come from a world of Silicon Valley where everyone's screaming, let's disrupt every industry every day, right? Yes. So you're not talking to a very neutral party here. Sure. For me, I'm just very pro-technology. Anytime that there's barriers to accessing technology or that governments tend to get in the way of regulation is something that I feel stifles innovation. Mm-hmm. There are definitely areas that kind of regulation is required, but I think we're in a state of the world right now where we should just be encouraging as much innovation as possible, encouraging people to start companies, not putting barriers and boundaries in people's paths of accessing the internet or innovating.
So would you be happy with the government not stepping in, or would you be happy with government coming out with broad contours of the rules of the game, so to say?
I mean, I think it has to vary country to country. I don't want to sit
here. For somebody like India,
okay,
where smartphone users are growing very fast, but at the same time, broadband penetration is very, very poor.
That's right.
So, keeping both the goals in mind, what do you think is the kind of recipe that suits India the best?
I mean, I think that whatever we can do to get more internet access in more households, more areas across India. So even if that comes with some form of regulation at first, I'm just pro getting internet into as many areas as possible, because that's where you get job creation, that's where you get education, that's where you get access to opportunity. So I think first you have to get it into the households, then you can
talk about the rules.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
A very candid Randi Zuckerberg over there. Very rare voice to get on a television news camera. Meanwhile, one of India's self-made billionaires, Sachin Bansal, tells us what he looks for in an entrepreneur and the key challenges that every startup will have to go through. Also, the bad boy of the startup world, Rahul Yadav, explains why exactly he dislikes investors. Here's a slice of that exciting conversation.
Is the entrepreneur going after really big problems, and that's also to the extent that it should almost feel scary when they talk. Is it really possible that what this guy is thinking? And that is the level I want to look at. And I see that a lot of times people do go after small problems, and that's something that is also a sign that they are not confident. Very high quality understanding of their space in which they are going to operate in, and really do they have the depth into what. And actually, what I don't look at is actually what they are doing today. People who are able to change quickly and are nimble, they get ahead, and rest of the folks actually get left behind. So that's the reality.
Sometimes, VCs they are also confused. Sometimes they say let's invest for 5 to 7 years and crack the market, and then they see something not happening, and they suddenly get jittery and they try to say let's make profitable ventures. So so I do not have that much respect for the fund managers.
I think there are you have to pick the right investors. Maybe he just got all the wrong guys on his board or something. But I think what he said is I will agree with that part, that if investors are not aligned with what you plan to do, you are going to have a very, very hard time. You need to be very, very clear to them at the start itself, like this is what I'm going to do, this is my playbook, this is what I believe in, this, I don't believe in this. If you like this, then come in as an investor, otherwise you can find somebody else and I can find somebody else as well, right? So sometimes that's not true, but you have to say it that way. First and primary interest has to be taken care of the business, right, in all of this. Then the interest of the founders and the shareholders and the employees and other things come later, right? And it's the business. If business is successful, then everyone will be successful. If business is not successful, then it doesn't matter. Worst thing that can happen to any company is to not have any competition. I mean, that's because then you don't innovate, you really don't move forward. And competition pushes you. And I remember, I think before Amazon entered, our growth rates were had gone down to about 100% year over year. After they have entered, we have grown 200% year over year. I think in the near term, by near term I mean like 6 months to a year, we should all brace for a little bit of slowdown overall. But these things never last, right? The same way good times never last and bad times also never last, and it will get better after some time. But I believe in the short term we are going to face some challenges across the world, not just in India.
See, if you are fully prepared for your course, you're not afraid of examination. So if your team is really good and you're really smart, I think you don't need to worry about it.
Rule of thumb that I try to follow, or I used to follow when we were small, and also I try to tell people that I invest in, is that when you raise funds, don't raise for 6 months to 8 months. That's just suicide. At least 18 months, if not 24 to 36 months, that you should think about when you raise funds and plan for that kind of runway, and make sure that at least at the end of that runway, if you are not able to raise further funds, you have a way to make the business sustainable at that time.
Some heartfelt views coming there, both from Sachin Bansal as well as Rahul Yadav at IIT Bombay. I must say they received a lot of applause from the crowd there. But moving on to our special segment, the funding meter powered by Venture Intelligence for the last week, where we really give you a roundup of the top deals in terms of PE and VC funding. To give us more insights, we're joined by Venture Intelligence founder Arun Natarajan from Chennai. Arun, thank you for talking to ED Now Startup Central. First up, take us through the prominent deals that we really saw in the last week.
Yeah, so last week has been a very good week in terms of the mix of the kind of companies cutting across sectors that have received funding, as well as the types of investors. Various types of VC investors have participated. So in that sense, very gratifying. So the largest investment, of course, went into a big data company, which is in a cross-border Bangalore and Silicon Valley-based Kubol, They had raised $30 million from very leading US-based VC investors. And that, of course, was followed by Power to SME, a B2B portal which is aggregating SME demand and helping them bring access to raw materials at much cheaper rates than they can directly access. And if you look at the types of investors here, you had Mr. Nandan Nilekani, co-founder of Infosys, participating along with the existing VC in this company. Then you had, and to represent the consumer internet segment, you had a company like Truebill, used car marketplace company, which attracted the first round investment from Kalari Capital and Inventus Capital and other investors. So we had a very good mix in terms of both companies as well as investors this week.
Arun, you mentioned some interesting mix there, but give us more perspective in terms of the trends that you're seeing sectorally, and if it's increasingly moving away from consumer internet, from e-commerce.
Sure. One perception among entrepreneurs today is that all the interest among investors seems to be towards B2C e-commerce kind of companies. So this week it was very gratifying to see that quite a few B2B kind of companies and fundamental technology kind of companies also getting funded. So apart from we said big data company like Kubol or a B2B e-commerce company like Power to SME, we also noticed that we had company like Altigreen, which is doing something fundamental in the automobile technology, helping vehicles become hybrid, attract capital from Jupiter Capital, which is the family office of Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekharan. So these kind of fundamental technology companies getting funded, including in the manufacturing kind of segment, is very heartening, I would say, to entrepreneurs in that sense.
Mr. Natarajan, this is Krishna Kumar coming to you from ET Now's Mumbai studios. I wanted to check with you, more and more Indian firms are investing abroad, right? Is there more enterprise play in the US, say, compared to back home here in India?
Oh, absolutely. To the extent we have seen, folks like, Infosys this week invested as much as $4 million into another Silicon Valley based big data company, Waterline Science. And this has been a trend among both the big IT services giants, Wipro Ventures, as well as Infosys, that they focused on Silicon Valley and US connected companies. However, this flow actually works both ways. We saw, for example, Kubol attracting $30 million from leading US based investors, whether it is existing investors like CRV, Norwest, or the latest investor, Institutional Venture Partners. So it's very good to see the back and forth connectivity between US and Silicon Valley investors as well as Indian investors, and not just US and India. We actually have seen Hong Kong, for example, contribute. We had Foxconn this week take a stake, as well as agree to manufacture the first set of products for a Internet of Things, home monitoring devices company called Visign Systems out of Bangalore. So all of this just points to a very healthy international connectivity that the startup ecosystem in India is getting, and something that did not exist even as a recent as, I would say, a year and a half back.
Finally, Arun, based on the deal trends that we've seen in January, what can you really say about how February is likely to be? Any seasonality at play that we will see in February compared to January?
So I think we are really coming off, as we've discussed, a very huge year, all-time high of 2015, and I'm seeing at least 1 month into the year the momentum not slowing down at all. And the mix of the investors is really the key part, as I can see in January, very healthy between the types of investors, whether it's family offices or angels. This week again we had Mr. Mohandas Pai and Mr. Ratan Tata contributing. They've done almost a deal a week so far, and I don't see that enthusiasm going away anytime soon. Hopefully things will stay on stream.
Arun Natarajan, founder of Venture Intelligence, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on ET Now Startup Central. Moving on. A startup boom is inevitable and in fact will be able to boost the ecosystem tremendously. That's the word coming in from InMobi founder Naveen Tiwari. While Flipkart co-founder Sachin Bansal believes that India is poised for an internet boom. This after Minister of State for Finance Jayant Sinha raised some concerns about the booming startup ecosystem. Here's a short excerpt of that tete-a-tete.
How do you balance the funding side of the business? And of course, some of them have raised, $1 billion or more with the actual scaling of the business itself. How does that work in terms of not getting distracted? So that's question number one. Question number two, and I think this is a question maybe all of you want to know about, is there a bubble right now as far as the Indian startup ecosystem is concerned? Is there a bubble?
It really is. I think the entrepreneur needs to determine whether the amount of money they're raising is sufficient for them to scale the business or not. In the Silicon Valley, we have seen time and again that when people get funded with too much money, it's actually a recipe for disaster. You lose the fiscal discipline and people just, we've seen that in the whole dot-com boom.
You're building a company that has to provide value to the consumers. If you're creating value, the valuation will follow. And I think that's been the mantra for us, and we hope to carry forward with that.
So where we see the balance slowly coming up is when they've got the right investor with the same mindset. I mean, Sachin mentioned about having an understanding of the business model, but the mindset to accelerate, if they are able to balance, that's when we have seen, whether it be a startup asking for a 10 crore funding or somebody raising billions, where we see a kind of a stability coming up.
In the next 5 to 10 years, India's internet economy will be more than $500 billion or more. And that's absolutely going to happen. And I think, yes, the path to that will be shaky. There will be ups and downs. There will be mistakes. Sometimes there will be more money available. Sometimes the money will be, the supply-demand equation of funds and startups will be different at different points of time. And but I think the larger picture is that India is going to go through a lot of technology transformation.
Countries don't get into bubble unless until there is massive, positive momentum around the country. And what happens is the exuberance might go up a little bit, even if needed to. But the fact is, if the bubble didn't happen, and by the way, I might even disagree with the fact that there is bubble, but I hope there is a bubble. And I hope that the bubble becomes even bigger, because there will be some casualties, but that's okay. Because the positive momentum of the bubble will basically create massive companies, a lot more money will come in, a lot more innovation will happen, a lot more disruption will happen.
Junior Finance Minister Jayant Sinha there wearing his investor hat and posing some hard questions. But on to a special segment that we are kicking off today. It's called Best Advice Ever, where Titan's MD Bhaskar Bhatt shares the best advice that he got in his career and the lessons that it could hold for entrepreneurs and startups.
The one piece of advice from several of our Tata Group seniors that I have received is business, when you're in business, it is about creating value for your stakeholders, primarily, of course, shareholders and your own employees, as well as other stakeholders, and not about valuation. So value creation versus valuation, I think it's a very good it is very good advice, right in the future, etc. I don't know in this day and age of valuations, but value creation over valuation.
A very candid Bhaskar Bhatt over there, away from one special segment to another one. Time now for a check on our app meter. Here are the top 3 apps of the week that we get you on both, say, iOS and the Google Play Store. Top fitness apps this time around. On the Google Play Store, it's Abish K. King, Period Calendar. That's the #1 fitness app on the Google Play Store, followed by MyFitnessPal in the #2 position, and Fitbit rounding up the top 3 as far as the Google Play Store is concerned. Time now to shift focus to iOS then to see what are the top fitness apps over the last week. And the number 1 over there is Fitbit. The number 3 on the Google Play Store is number 1 as far as iOS is concerned, followed by MyFitnessPal 2 repetitions over there. Number 3 on iOS is an app called Keep. So all of you fitness freaks over there, take a look at all these 3 apps. It's time now to get fit going forward. Back to you, Chandra.
Moving on to the final segment of the day, and the number we are crunching today is rupees 740 crores. Why is that number significant? That's the loss posted by fashion e-tailer Myntra for the year 2014-15, and this is more than 4 times the loss of rupees 173 crores that it posted for 2013-14. If you're wondering some of the factors that really contributed to this 4-fold jump, it could be the fact that they spent heavily on promotions, discounts, sales didn't match up because they moved to an app-only strategy, and also increasing competition from Amazon and Snapdeal as they step up focus on the fashion segment. That brings us to the end of our show today. Over to you, Krishna.
All right, Chandra, that number crunch reminds me that one good news with that number is that a lot of people out there got great deals as far as their fashion shopping is concerned. On that note, we wrap things up here on ET Now Startup Central. Coming up next is Market Watch. Keep watching ET Now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.